Hey there, fellow anglers. If you're diving into Roblox fish, you already know the grind is real. With so many rods to choose from, it's easy to get overwhelmed and waste your hard-earned money on something that looks cool but just doesn't deliver. Trust me, I've been there. Spending hours fishing with a rod that barely pulls its weight is not the vibe. That's why today we're cutting through the noise with a tier list that will steer you toward the absolute best rods in the game. Now, here's the deal. Not all rods are created equal, and honestly, most of them just aren't worth your time. Investing in the wrong rod can set you back big time, especially when you're trying to save up for better gear or rare catches. So, in this video, I'll break down the rods that will carry you through the game like a pro and save you a ton of hassle. Stick around and let's make sure you're fishing with the best of the best. I'm quickly moving on to the video and I'm ranking rods in fish. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
A very small portion of the audience is subscribed to the channel. Please don't forget to subscribe if you like these types of videos. Thanks.
The rods in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: fast rod, plastic rod, long rod, flimsy rod, and training rod. The infamous E-tier rods in fish, where fishing dreams go to drown, and we're here to dissect why. These rods are the kind you start with, try once, and immediately regret. Let's break them down and figure out why they're best left gathering dust in your inventory. Spoiler alert, just get the carbon rod. Seriously. First up, the fast rod, which might look appealing with its 45% lure speed, until you realize the rest of its stats are abysmal. In negative 15% luck, yikes. It's like the fish know you're coming and actively avoid you. And while it has a respectable max kg of 175, every other stat screams, "Die, please don't use me." Trust me, you're better off skipping this and moving on. Then we have the plastic rod, which gives you a tiny boost in luck and resilience. But let's be real, its 100 max kg is a joke when compared to better rods. It's like handing someone a balloon and asking them to catch a shark. Sure, it works, technically, but why bother when the carbon rod exists? This one's a solid "why did I even try this" moment. Now, I'd love to tell you the training rod or flimsy rod have redeeming qualities, but they don't. The training rod is only good if you're hunting logs instead of actual fish. Yes, that's a thing. And the flimsy rod? With a max kg of 10.4, you're not fishing, you're catching water droplets. So, do yourself a favor. If you're rocking an E-tier rod, consider it your villain origin story and upgrade as soon as you can. The rods in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: stone rod, buddy rod, magma rod, fisher's rod, fungal rod, fortune rod, and lucky rod. Ahoy, fellow anglers. You ever feel like you're out here casting your heart out and just not vibing with your rod? Yeah, me too. Let's talk about the rods in fish that are hanging out in the D tier. You know, the ones you kinda wish you didn't waste your time on, but hey, sometimes they're all you've got. Let's dive in, because some of these rods are hilariously bad, but also kinda charming in their own sad little way. First up, the stone rod. I mean, it's cheap, it's basic, and it's not entirely useless. It gives you a little boost to luck and resilience, but that 25% lure, ouch. It's like the rod is actively telling the fish, "Hey, take your time, I'm in no rush." Still, if you're absolutely broke and starting out, it's better than fishing with your bare hands. Just don't get too attached. Trust me, the carbon rod will have you switching in no time. Next, we have the buddy rod, the social butterfly of the bunch. If you've got a friend in the server, this thing's stats go up by 30%, which is honestly pretty cool. But let's be real, do you really want your rod's usefulness tied to your buddy's online status? It's free though, so I can't be too mad at it. Still, it's like the group project partner who only shows up when everyone else is working hard. Alright, let's talk magma rod. On paper, it sounds like a hot deal, pun intended. It's one of the few rods that lets you fish in lava at Roslit Volcano, which is cool and all. But the stats? Woof. A 70% lure is straight up painful, and you're left wondering why you didn't just grind for the reinforced rod instead. Great for early game, sure, but you'll want to ditch it faster than a soggy boot. Now, the fisher's rod, it's okay, like spamare. It's easy to get and gives you tiny bumps in every stat, but it caps out at a whopping 50 kg. This rod screams, "Use me until literally anything better comes along." I respect its simplicity, but it's not staying in anyone's inventory for long. For the gamblers out there, let's chat about the fungal rod. This one's kinda fun. You get a luck 4 boost for 45 seconds after a catch, which can help with those crab cages. The downside, its max kg is laughable at 200, and finding it can be a bit of a chore. Still, if you're in the early game and need a little help, this rod's got your back. Just don't expect it to work miracles. And finally, we have the Fortune Rod and Lucky Rod, two rods that sound like they're dripping with potential but end up being kind of a letdown. Fortune Rod gives you an insane plus 110% luck, but the price tag and awful stats make you wonder if it's worth it. Lucky Rod, decent luck stats, but literally everything else drags it down. It's like getting a shiny lure and realizing the hook is missing. So there you have it, D tier rods. They're not all bad, but let's just say they're not winning any trophies. If you're stuck using one, make the most of it, but don't forget, better rods are out there waiting for you. The rods in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: Seasons Rod, Voyager Rod, The Lost Rod, Riptide Rod, Resourceful Rod, Carbon Rod, Haunted Rod, and Rapid Rod. Alright, let's dive straight into the rods that are so painfully average they might as well come with a meh sticker slapped on them. Welcome to the C tier of fish. These rods, they're like that one friend who means well, but always shows up late and forgets their wallet. Let's break them down, one disappointment at a time. First up, we've got the Seasons Rod. This one sounds like it could be a game changer with its ability to boost fish luck during the current season and even give seasonal mutations. But here's the catch, its stats are as sad as a soggy sandwich. Sure, a 20% luck boost is cool, but when crafting it feels like solving quantum physics, you start wondering if it's worth it. Spoiler alert, it's not. Now, let's talk about the Voyager Rod, aka the rod with a laser cannon. Yes, it fossilizes fish with an orbital strike, which is about as epic as it sounds. But when your stats are so bad that even a soggy paperclip could compete with it, the fancy passive can only carry it so far. It's a solid moneymaker if you're willing to deal with the frustration of actually crafting the thing though. The Lost Rod is where things get a bit interesting. Its passive rewards perfectionists with a massive 150% luck boost after 6 perfect catches. If you're that player who lives for precision, this rod might be your jam. But let's not ignore the elephant in the room. Everything else about it is a bit, well, lost. Garbage stats across the board, except for its impressive max weight limit. A classic case of almost but not quite. Moving on, the Riptide Rod brings a tide meter into the mix, which fills up with perfect casts and gives you boosted stats for 3 glorious casts when maxed. It's fun and interactive, but when you're stuck with mediocre base stats, the thrill fades fast. It's like a roller coaster ride that's exciting but ends too quickly to leave an impact. And let's not forget the Rapid Rod, the ultimate chaotic neutral of fishing rods. It's built for speed, with a whopping 72% lure speed, but at the cost of luck and resilience. If your idea of fun is catching fish at warp speed and not caring what you reel in, this rod's for you. But if you're trying to snag anything rare or valuable, you're gonna have a bad time. So there you have it, C tier rods in fish. They're quirky, they've got charm, but most of them feel like a lot of work for very little payoff. Stick around, because next up we're diving into the B tier rods, where things start to get a bit more exciting. Trust me, it only gets better from here. The rods in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: Scurvy Rod, Wisdom Rod, Nocturnal Rod, Relic Rod, Steady Rod, Magnet Rod, and Midas Rod. Rods in fish, because let's be honest, nothing says adventure quite like standing still with a stick in hand, hoping for something cool to bite. Today, we're diving into the B tier rods, the true underdogs of the fishing world. They're not the creme de la creme, but hey, they've got their quirks and a certain charm if you know where to look. Let's break them down one by one, shall we? Starting off, we've got the Scurvy Rod. Solid stats? Check. Max kg of 2000? Also check. But here's the kicker, this thing is pricey. Like, do I really need this? Kind of pricey. And to make things worse, it doesn't even come with a fancy special ability. It's like buying a sports car with no turbo button. Sure, it works, but where's the fun in that? Next up, the Wisdom Rod. Now, this one's got a little extra sauce. It gives you a 70-100% XP bonus after you nail 5 successful catches in a row. Leveling up feels much smoother with this bad boy, and it's relatively easy to craft, so beginners will love it. But, and there's always a but, most endgame rods blow it out of the water when it comes to XP farming. Still, for what it is, it's a solid pick. Then we have the Nocturnal Rod, which is basically a night owl's dream. This rod lets you catch nocturnal and diurnal fish whenever you want. No more waiting for the right time of day, which is awesome for completing your bestiary. The downside, it struggles with tougher fish unless you slap on some enchants or bait, and it's not great for making money. But hey, if you're a completionist, it's your new best friend. Now let's talk about the Magnet Rod. This one is all about crates, like crates for days. With a 95% chance of hooking them, it's fantastic for early game cash farming. But let's be real, crates won't help you fill up your fish compendium, so if you're chasing that 100% completion, this rod is pretty useless. Still, if money is tight and you need quick gold, it's worth considering. Finally, there's the Midas rod. Sounds luxurious, doesn't it? And it kind of is. Every fish you catch has a 60% chance of turning golden, doubling its value. The problem? It's expensive to get, has terrible stats, and can't handle difficult fish without heavy customization. It's flashy, sure, but it's more of a show-off rod than a practical one. So that's your B tier lineup. They're quirky, they've got their strengths, but they also come with enough downsides to keep things interesting. Whether you're chasing gold XP or just trying to cross those nocturnal fish off your list, there's probably a rod here that fits your vibe. Just remember, no matter the rod, the real treasure is the patience you develop along the way, or, you know, the massive fish you brag about later. The rods in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Rod of the Eternal King, Sunken Rod, King's Rod, Destiny Rod, Reinforced Rod, Celestial Rod, Precision Rod, and Phoenix Rod. Fishing and fish, the art of catching pixelated aquatic treasures. It's not just about the thrill of the catch, it's about picking the right tool for the job. Today we're diving deep into the A tier rods. These beauties aren't perfect, but they're solid choices for most players. Let's break it down and figure out which rod speaks to your inner angler. First up, we've got the Rod of the Eternal King, which sounds as majestic as it performs. With a whopping 150% luck and a passive ability that gives you a bonus burst of luck and a shot at rarer fish, it's a fantastic choice for hunting elusive catches. But here's the catch, pun intended, it struggles with harder fish unless you enchant it. And crafting this thing, let's just say it's not for the faint-hearted. But hey, if you're looking for big numbers and satisfying RNG moments, this is your rod. Next, the Sunken Rod. If treasure maps get your heart racing, this is your dream come true. Every 10 catches, there's a 25% chance you'll snag one. Stats-wise, it's solid with a 30% lure and 150% luck. It's a moneymaker no doubt, but tackling harder fish, not without the right bait or enchants. Still, if you're farming for treasure and gold, this rod won't let you down. Then there's the King's Rod, a real heavyweight. Literally, it's got an infinite weight limit so you can reel in those absolute unit fish. The trade-off? It's not a moneymaker, but if your goal is to snag big or giant fish, this rod is a no-brainer. Think of it as the rod for flexing your fishing prowess rather than padding your wallet. Let's talk about the Destiny Rod, the shiny hunter's dream. With 250% luck and a passive that gives every fish a 5% chance of being shiny or sparkling, it's perfect for filling out your bestiary. But like some of its siblings, it struggles with tougher fish. It's also not the best choice if you're fishing for profit, so keep this one in your arsenal for those rare fish hunting sessions. The Reinforced Rod is a bit of an oddball. Its stats are pretty lackluster, but it can fish in any liquid, even the harmful ones. Think of it as the rod you use when you're exploring dangerous territories. Is it flashy? No. Is it situationally awesome? Absolutely. On to the Celestial Rod, which has a super unique passive. After catching 85 fish, you get a massive 5-minute boost to luck, lure speed, and speed, and all your catches will have the Celestial mutation. With solid stats and an infinite weight limit, it's a powerhouse for dedicated anglers. The downside? Crafting it takes some serious effort. But hey, good things come to those who grind. The Precision Rod lives up to its name. It has fantastic stats, is relatively easy to craft, and works well for most fishing scenarios. However, like many others, it struggles with harder fish without proper enchants. It's a great all-rounder though, and perfect for players who want a reliable rod without too much hassle. Finally, we've got the fiery Phoenix Rod. Its lure speed is a blazing 55%, and its passive gives you a 40% chance to add a scorched effect to your catches, boosting their value by 1.3x. It's affordable, fast, and perfect for quick money-making sessions. But once again, it's not built for hard fish without enchantments. So, which one's your favorite? Are you chasing treasure maps with the Sunken Rod, flexing with giant fish using the King's Rod, or hunting for shinies with the Destiny Rod? Let me know in the comments, because let's be honest, everyone has that one rod they swear by. Happy fishing, folks! The rods in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, No Life Rod, Trident Rod, Rod of the Depths, Aurora Rod, Mythical Rod, and Rod of the Forgotten Fang. Picture this. You're standing by the water, the wind in your hair, and you're holding a rod that feels more like Excalibur than fishing gear. Yeah, we're talking about the absolute heavyweights of fish, the S tier rods. These bad boys are game changers, and if you've ever struggled to catch that one elusive fish, don't worry, one of these rods will turn you into an aquatic overlord. Let's dive in. First up, the No Life Rod, a rod so ridiculously powerful it doesn't even blink at the hardest fish in the game. With infinite max weight and stats that make other rods cry, it's a beast. The Hexed mutation? Chef's kiss. It boosts the value of your fish by 1.5x and lets you stun them mid-catch for a progress boost. But here's the thing, while it makes fishing feel like a breeze, it's not a money-making machine. Think of it as the rod for players who fish for sport, not for cash. Next, let's talk about the Trident Rod, which is basically Poseidon's weapon if he decided to become a fisherman. Its luck stat is off the charts at 150%, and every fish has a 30% chance of being Atlantean, aka 3 times the value. It's the ultimate moneymaker, and even the most stubborn fish can't resist its passive. The downside, its weight limit caps at 6,000 kilos, so don't expect it to reel in the sea monsters, but for sheer profits, this is the one to beat. Then we've got the Rod of the Depths, or as I like to call it, the No Life Light. It's got excellent stats for farming XP and a sweet passive that gives you a duplicate or mutation every 3 catches, plus it can handle fish up to 30,000 kilos. The only catch? It's a bit more expensive than the Trident Rod and isn't as good for raking in cash. But if you want a versatile rod that works for almost any situation, this is your guy. Now, the Aurora Rod is where things get flashy. During an Aurora event, this rod is an absolute money printing machine. It's 15% chance for fish to get the Aurora mutation, 7.5x value, it's no joke. But the stats, while solid, aren't enough to easily snag tougher fish unless you're using bait or enchantments. It's perfect for players who love stacking their wallets, but don't expect it to dominate outside of those special events. Finally, the Rod of the Forgotten Fang is for those who love theatrics. After 5 perfect catches, a Megalodon literally jumps out to deliver you a better fish with a size buff. That's right, it's like fishing meets a blockbuster movie. It's got resilience, infinite max weight, and some of the best stats in the game. But crafting this bad boy? Yeah, it's a grind, worth it though, every single time. So there you have it, the creme de la creme of rods in fish. Whether you're all about catching the hardest fish, stacking cash, or just showing off that Megalodon cinematic, there's an S-tier rod calling your name. Which one's your favorite? Or better yet, do you think you've got what it takes to snag them all? Let me know in the comments below. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.